installment of the how to make a game or the game production guide that the series that I've been making. This portion or this video will be dedicated to the programming subteam, and it's kind of getting set up in our environment and getting our kind of game projects set up and listing everything out so that everything is good and ready to go. If you're not in the programming team but are still interested, feel free to watch the video, but if you're a bit confused, just feel free to shoot me a DM or something and I will most probably respond and just give you a little rundown of what I've told the programming team before, just to give you like the explanation. So the first thing we'll have to do is set up set up the way that our projects are organized and the way that everything looks, basically. And so I guess we'll have to start off with creating our environment. So our environment is kind of the space or the subdirectory in which Python is running. So that's why I made you guys download Anaconda so that you can make a Conda environment. So to create an environment, you just do Conda env, which is short for environment, create, and we give it a name, and we're going to call this game production. And that's going to be the name of our environment. And we're going to, oh wait, whoops. It's just Conda create, not Conda environment create, sorry. So yeah, once we, and the -n is to set the name, and so here we go. It's gonna tell me to update, but I'm not gonna update because, you know, it's kind of how it works. But yeah, so Conda create with the name of game production. It doesn't matter if you're in a newer version. It should relatively be the same as long as you're in the version that it was listed above. And so now we're gonna activate our environment. So just do that. So Conda activate game production or whatever the name of your environment is, and you'll see that instead of base, it'll activate this new environment. And so the first thing in any main Python project is to list out what requirements we need to produce our game, or what libraries we need to produce our game. And so we already know that we need Pygame to create our game, and we also need something to interact with tiled, and that library is known as PyTMX. So we're going to install both of those. So to install a library, it's called pip. So we're going to do pip, or we're just going to check if we have pip installed, because I don't even know if we have that. Yeah, we don't even have pip in this environment. So we're going to do conda install. So we're going to install Python to this library. So conda install and game production, we're going to install Python. And so it's going to give us all the libraries it's going to download, which is just everything you need for basic Python. And you'll see that there's pip here as well, which is a Python package manager. And so you just press Y, or you can press enter because Y is the default, and it'll start downloading all the libraries that it needs to produce your environment. Okay, and so I think we have all our libraries now, so if we check if pip is installed, so pip -- version, then we see that there is a version, and we also see a location, which is in our environment folder, so it's all good. And so now we're going to do pip install Pygame, because we're going to need Pygame for, you know, our game, essentially. And so now successfully installed Pygame, and we're also going to need PyTMX, which is what I was talking about before. So PyTMX. And so yeah, now it's installed both of those. So now that we've installed these packages, we need to specify to the project, or to the user, the reader, what requirements they will need to build our project. So if we deploy it, then the computer will know what to download to run our project. So to do that, we're going to run a command called pip freeze, which is going to list out all the libraries we have installed. And we're going to do an arrow over here. This is only for Bash. I don't really know how it works on Windows, but it should be fine, guys. So pip freeze, and we're going to do this arrow, which means it's pointing everything that's outputted by pip freeze. Oh wait, let me just show pip freeze first. If I run pip freeze, it's going to print out all of my libraries. So I want to put these into a file. I don't want to copy paste them. That takes forever. So we're going to copy paste them into a file that's called requirements.txt. And so we're just going to let that go, and now it's going to copy all the information that was just listed out here, right here. And we know all the libraries, and we know what version they're on in the requirements. And so once we've given our requirements, we also need to create a directory to contain all the code. So we've kept resources outside, but we want to keep this inside some main directory. And it's going to be the name of our package, which is kind of what all our Python code is wrapped into. So we're going to call this package sample game. And we're going to push our resources inside of here. So we're going to move them in. And we're also going to have to create an initialization file. So init.py. And so, oh wait, why did I make it a folder? Sorry. You delete this. We don't want a folder. We want it to be a file. And we're going to call this init.py with 2 underscores. And so this is called every time the package is going to be called from the outside, which is how people run our code. this is the first file that is going to be called. So we put any initialization code in here. So I'm going to add the comment initialization code in here. But we don't have any initialization code right now because we don't have any code in general. So we're just going to keep that as it is, and we're going to move this up to the sample game folder, not inside the resources folder. And so once we've done that, we also want to create another double underscore file, and we're going to call this one main. Oh, wait, that's plus main.py. And so this is going to run every time we call the package sample game. After it runs initialize, it's going to run this main file. And so to ensure that everything works, we're going to wrap the whole thing in one function. So this is going to be called main. And it's going to be empty for now because you don't have anything important in here. And we're going to do a little trick. If name equals main. So name and 2 underscores is going to be the name or the technical name of the file. So if the name of the file is underscore underscore main underscore underscore, then that is the file that is going to be running your Python code. And so if I have some sort of file, and let's call that like run.py, then if I run that Python file, the technical name would be underscore underscore main underscore underscore. So it's just, if the name equals main, this is just to ensure that this is the file that is being run. For example, let's say that I have some code in here, like print hello. And let's say that I want to, and let's say I have an important function as in here as well. Let's call this important, and we'll just return none. But it's very important, so can't forget that. Then if we import that package into here, before it actually gives us whatever this is, it's going to run all the spare code inside of here. And we don't want that to happen because sometimes there could be some debugging code in here and it could make the user output really weird. And so for that reason, we typically keep whatever main file we're going to run our code in, and we say if name equals mains to ensure that it is the file that is being run. And so if the name is equal to main, then we're going to run the main function, which all the code that is going to run is going to be inside of here. And so we've set up our basic project right now in terms of everything we need. So we're going to add a file in the general one, and we're going to call this .gitignore. So I've already initialized the Git repository here, but to do that you just do git init like this, and it's reinitialize existing repository, whatever. So it's just initializing an empty Git repository inside of here. And so what a gitignore is let's look at this .vs code file. It's completely useless. It's just telling me what Python path I'm using. But we don't want the users to see that because that's not relevant to what code we want to see. So in the .gitignore, we add all files that are not important to the user. So I guess the gitignore is also not really important to the user. So we could save both of them. And wait, hello. Gosh darn it. Whatever. So we're just going to assume that that's blocked. For some reason it doesn't say it is, but it should be blocked. // No, okay, whatever. We're going to assume that's blocked, but the thing is, we just want non-relevant files to not be seen by the user so that our code looks clean. So that's why we add the .gitignore file. And so once you've added all your base files, this is just going to be like the base skeleton of our project. Actually, no, there's one more file that we need to add to really finish off the skeleton. And this file is going to be called setup.py. And this setup.py is basically what is going to give our project definition, essentially, so that if we ever do release it, it is professionally packaged in a sense. So there's a library called setup tools which comes built into Python, and so we're going to use the setup tools .setup, and we're going to set up our entire project. So right here I've loaded up this python.org tab window kind of thing just to show exactly what we need for it. So if you see here, it just gives us a little bit of a description so as to what we need to fill it up with. So version, the author email, the URL packages, and the whole schmeal with that. So you could, of course, take this and format it in, which I guess is what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a copy-paste here. Just a little bit of a copy-paste. Nothing major. Okay, there we go. So the example package, since this is called sample game, we're just going to call it sample game. And we're going to give it a username, which is game production. What the version is it in? Of course, 0.0.1, right? Author, we're going to call this the game production class. I turned off my computer by pressing the power button instead of the delete button. Thank you, macOS. So once we've done that, the author we're going to set is game production, just like this. The author email, we're just going to leave this as game.production@gmail. So just gameproduction@gmail.com. There's a vacuum going on in the background. Thank you, parents. Okay, so this is just going to be a sample game in terms of small description. In terms of long description, typically you have a README file. So a readme.md file is just a formatted file that just gives you like, so let's just copy over this thing. So we're going to make a readme.md as well. And so to make a readme.md, it's quite easy. You just readme.md. And the reason why it's called readme.md is because this is going to be what's displayed on your GitHub page or whatever when you first load it up. So we're going to give it our name, which is called sample game, and we're going to give it a short description, bad sample game. I mean, good. There we go. Perfect. Beautiful. And so now we're going to read that file, and it's going to be a long description. This is the content type, which is a markdown text, so that sounds good. This is the URL to our project, which we'll just keep as our GitHub thing, but we don't really have one, so we'll just keep it as this. The packages, this is going to find our sample package, but we could really just initialize this. So what's the name of our package? It's just sample game. Perfect. And so this is our classifiers, license. We don't really have a license, so we'll just get rid of that. Boom. OS independent. Python requires greater than 3.6. Sure. I mean, we could keep that, or we need a different one, but whatever. We could keep that if we use formatted strings. Okay, so now we've had our basic project setup and the whole hierarchy and the project setup all ready to go. If I make any changes to them, then I'll let you know in future videos. But the other main point of this video is to get our first piece of development started, which would be the random number generator. And so since Vimeo has an upload limit and I don't want to break that, I'll stop the